Welcome to MarcusG.TV and Chef on a Mission Radio, also known as Aromatime Radio. Today's mission is green restaurants, and Carl joins me. Say hello, Carl.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
So, Carl, you posed a great question before we went to break. Just repeat that question.
Sure. So, I'm supporting my local restaurants. I'm going to my local tavern. I know, the food there is good, but I'm not sure where it's coming from. And I, as a consumer now, being educated or beginning that education process for myself and learning about, local food, local sustainability, healthier eating, etc. How can I engage the tavern owner and his or her staff? What questions can I ask, and how could I begin that conversation with them, maybe to get that owner to take a different view of his place?
Sure. The thing that it all comes down to with restaurants, we're all in business and we all want to make money. And the cheaper that we can buy something as a chef, as a restaurateur, that we're going to take advantage of it. If we can save $2, $5, $8, we're not going to buy something that costs more. It's just flat out, most chefs won't do it because they're paid on bonuses, because it's their own restaurant and they see the bottom line and they're trying to pay bills. So it's hard to convince people in the beginning that they need to spend more money so they can make one person or two people happier. However, the more you mention it, the more people mention it to a restaurant owner, the more he's going to be apt to saying, well, maybe this is something I should look into. Now here's really the angle you have to play. You have to say, okay, let's start with one of the basic ingredients. Let's start with French fries. French fries are a very common staple food, and a lot of pubs, restaurants, fast food, even fine dining restaurants have French fries. So we can ask them, well, we're really concerned about the quality of the oil you're using. And we can educate them and say, did you know that hexane gas is used, and then cottonseed is very toxic because of the sprays. Oils like corn and soy are being genetically modified. It's really a disaster. So we can look at it and say, well, how much is that restaurant paying for a 5-gallon pail of oil now? Okay, so it costs them $20. And then we can say, okay, let's pick one of the better oils. It's going to cost $50. It's 2.5 times the price. Now, nobody would dream of paying that much more money just to make a French fry. However, if we then say to that chef and restaurant owner, how much does a potato cost you? 25 cents. Okay. How much do you charge for French fries? If you've got one potato and you charge French fries, they're going to say $4, right? And you're going to say, okay, so now you're going to say, how many orders of French fries can you get from that oil? $20 is the oil. We would like you to pay $50 because we would love to be able to say, okay, we can get a French fry from you that has much more care in it. By the time you break that down, then at 25 cents or 30 cents jumping up to a $4 a plate, and the oil averaged out over the use of all day long or through a couple of days, you're talking about maybe adding on 10 cents to the cost of the fries.
Wow. Now,
that may not be an accurate number, but it may be 15 cents, maybe 18 cents. But you're still getting $4 or $4.50 or $5 or $3.50. But if you were charging $3.50 and you realize, okay, it's going to cost me 20 cents more to make these fries, let me really advertise that we're using a better quality oil and charge $3.99 for these fries, $3.75. That's how they have to look at it. So you have to say to them, I'm willing to pay you more for a better product. But I'm also bet that you're willing to buy a better product for your most highest margin items. So you want to pick the items that are the highest margin. When it comes to like garlic, I did a great piece on garlic recently, where Chinese garlic, who knows what's in it because of all the pollution, runoff, chemicals, industrial disasters of China, which is all over China, because they don't have the EPA and they don't have agencies like we have. Even though as corrupt as ours are, we still have them in place. That's a whole nother show. So when it comes down to how much garlic are you going to use on the plate versus how much more does good quality American garlic cost you, you're looking at 5 cents an entree. More. That's all you're talking. So when you talk to a chef in that language, so a restaurant owner in that language, you're going to say your per plate, your per portion is costing you a mere fraction of what you're charging. It's not costing you $5 more for the bag of garlic, for the gallon of garlic. It's costing you 10 cents more a plate. That's how you have to break it down into to a chef.
Interesting. So, if I'm understanding what you're saying is, it could be some more behind the scenes kind of changes that would make the restaurant a little greener, a little more attractive, and give that restaurant owner a little bit of leverage in the community to say, I'm producing a healthier dish by doing this, this, and this. And it's not necessarily the sexy things, so to speak, but those nuts and bolts sort of pieces that go into running the kitchen, putting the dishes together, starting there can really make a big difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, it's accumulation of all that. It's just accumulation. So wherever you can get a chef to budge, that's where you want to start. And you want to ask him, you know, where can you afford to spend more money? I'd like to support you more. It's something that I'm concerned with. Now, it's great to buy local. Local's phenomenal. Are you going to spend more money on local? A lot of times, local food does cost more. But then now it's the job of the chef, the restaurateur, the owner, to really, and the wait staff especially, to properly explain what the people are having. People are more than happy to pay more for better quality. So when you can advertise and say, I'm using kale from down the road, I'm using apples from local apples, but you have to be proud about all that, and you can't hide it. I think a lot of chefs hide the ingredients that they are using. They don't get enough credit for it. On the other hand, I think a lot of chefs are over-exaggerating the very few items that they are using and calling themselves farm to table at the same time, and really dropping the ball on 90% of the stuff that they have in their kitchen, and just saying, well, we buy local beef, I buy local vegetables. Well, that's great, because the local vegetables are for 9 months, 3 months out of the year. What do you do for the other 9 months?
Right. Interesting. Very good. So when we come to Aromatime Bistro and a guest comes in for the first time, let's do a menu minute, if you will. What's a newer dish on the... Oh, we're in October. I almost forgot. It's Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest. So why don't we talk
Right.
about Oktoberfest and German food, and how you can make German food a little healthier? Because let's face it, German food is a heavy, rich food.
Yeah, it is.
And they eat a ton of pork. They drink a lot of beer. And if they're not drinking beer, they're drinking wine.
Right.
The Buschenschank. So, how can you take the traditional... Let's start with sauerbraten. How can you make a sauerbraten dish healthier? Typical sauerbraten is some kind of eye of the round beef, some kind of braising beef. You add red vinegar to it. It's marinated and it's braised, marinated in mustard, juniper, sometimes wine, vinegar and water, really red vinegar, and then it's cooked, and then it's finished with ginger snap cookies. So really a rich, heavy dish. So the best cut that I found, Carl, is some of the lower fat cuts of beef, like eye of the round is great. Flat iron steak works really well. When you marinate, instead of red wine vinegar, you use apple cider vinegar. It's a much higher quality vinegar, not apple cider flavored vinegar, but a true apple cider vinegar. You have to spend more money, unfortunately. It's just the way it goes. It's going to be probably significantly more, but again, how much vinegar are you using?
Right.
We use 1 cup of vinegar for every like 4 pounds of meat. It's not much. When you break down 5 gallons of vinegar, 1 cup is not much, but it's twice the price of the cheaper vinegar. So vinegar, we put wine in ours, red wine, apple cider vinegar, water, organic mustard, or mustard can be GMO'd. And if you're buying, especially some of the bigger brands out there, especially from Canada, my personal preference is Woodstock has a great organic mustard, and then Rolland Imports, Rolland Foods, their mustard farmers have signed affidavits not to use GMOs. So that's the neat thing about using Rolland. And Rolland is a bigger supplier. They're in a lot of warehouses across the country, R-O-L-A-N-D. We use grass-fed beef, of course, for ours, so the fat content's down. And we braise it off. We use a high-quality salt. But then we use a gluten-free, natural ginger snap cookie. So we're still keeping very traditional here and very classic. But we're using a natural ginger snap cookie, which really makes a big difference in the quality of the food you're putting in, because really, most restaurants are taking just a cookie that could have trans fats, white flour, or lots of butter, gluten in it, and just throwing that right into their sauerbraten. And of course, the idea is because you're putting vinegar in it, It's sour, thus sauerbraten. And so you're adding some kind of sweetener into it. Now I know some certain chefs are going to take handfuls of sugar and just put it right in there because they're going to want to counterbalance all the acidity. So they'll just take handfuls of sugar and throw it in. We, on the other hand, are using gluten-free, high-quality, natural, trans-fat-free, gluten-free ginger snap cookie.
And the resulting flavor is phenomenally delicious, I have to say. I mean, and the grass-fed flat iron that we're using this year is just also a fall apart delicious dish.
It's incredible.
And it's been a great favorite of the guests so far, and I know it will continue to be as we keep serving it. What other sort of seasonal items on the menu have you done and taken a different tact with, and still presented something that would be, quote, traditional?
Traditional. Spätzle. We make spätzle, and people love spätzle. And we do make a blue cheese, like a creamy blue cheese spätzle for our schnitzel, our pork schnitzel, and as an appetizer. So we take whole grain, organic sprouted spelt flour. There's a great company out there called 1 Degree. I suggest you get on their website, 1 Degree, you check them out. They do a phenomenal job, and they're just as diligent as I am, Carl. They know where everything comes from, and they have videos of them going to the salt mine, and if you buy it in like any of their cereal or their bread, they'll have a map of where things come from and the farmer who's the farm that's responsible for making it, whether it's in the US or abroad. So they're having a direct relationship, which is what I'm all in favor of. So we use their spelt flour, we use organic milk, we use an organic cage-free egg in there. So all 3 ingredients are organic, even the nutmeg that goes in, it's organic. And then we make a cream sauce with organic half and half and blue cheese. So really almost the whole thing's organic. We're making it almost all organic. And the whole grain, you know, people are like, oh, I don't like whole grain. You know, you can't tell the difference, can you, Carl?
No, it's a great, nutty, rich dish, actually, and I've always been personally a fan of spelt flour in my own baking at home, and almost all my baked goods are done with spelt, and it's a great lower gluten flour to begin with.
Yes.
Which makes it a little interesting to deal with because there's some adjustments you have to make. But that being said, the resulting products are always phenomenal.
Absolutely. So those are 2 classic German heavy dishes that have been retransformed here at Aroma Time from me to fit my style of cooking, to be less taxing on the environment and healthier for you.
Excellent. So just a recap, I guess. So we have a green certified 3-star green certified restaurant. Different takes on the back end, the things that people don't see when they come into a restaurant, and of course the things that are presented to them at tableside, and all as a process of growing over time, as you've said, and all carefully learned as you were going through the process of growing into this.
Right. The neat thing is, a chef might be watching this and saying, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. What do I do? When you sign up with an organization such as the Green Restaurant Association, they teach you. They have guidelines. They show you the products that you could be using. They'll say, you know, if you want to get a better drinking straw, these are the 5 companies that we endorse that happen to have a better drinking straw. If you want better hand soap, these are the 15 companies that have good hand soaps. And so it's not where you're out there on your own trying to figure this mess out and how to get out of this mess. You're getting coaching at the same time. You're getting the resources. Does it cost? Yes, it does cost. And here's something that I wanted to say earlier. You have to teach these restaurant owners that there's certain things that they're going to pay more money for. It's just regardless. That's just the cost of doing business. It's a cost of protecting the environment. But the other side is there's going to be items that they're going to buy that are going to save them money. For example, we have an ionizer. So we can use our own, we have a water ionizer, so we can use our own village tap water and transform that into revenue because we've spent money on this machine, but it's long paid for itself, so we don't have to go through expensive bottled still water. So we're going to save money on that end. Another great thing to save money is on LED light bulbs. The prices come down drastically now. I've seen them as low as $7. We have like 30 LED light bulbs throughout the restaurant now, and we've never had to replace one. They haven't burnt out. They use a lot less energy, and you're not throwing out bulbs. So these are just things that you can automatically save money on. Aerators. You put an aerator, a low flow valve, on sinks, and you're not going to use as much water. Now, if you put that on certain sinks that are using hot water a lot, you're going to use less hot water, which means if you're heating through propane, through oil, or through maybe electric, your hot water, you're using less resources. So that's an immediate savings on the volume of water and your heating source of water. So there are things you can implement that you will save money on. Low flow water toilets are another thing. You're using, a lot less water per flush. So it's not all about spending more money to get the certification. There's also things that you can save money on. We saved money, Carl, on our waste removal because we compost a lot. And I called my waste company and said, we're not putting as much trash in the dumpster anymore. We've cut our trash back by, please readjust. And they did readjust. They're hauling less out, so they readjusted my bill, and I lowered and saved money on that. In turn, I found a farmer to take the compost.
Right, I was just going to say, these are really good, again, not so obvious, but behind the scenes sort of things, especially with the cost of the LED light bulbs coming down. Now your ROI, your return on investment, is a lot quicker, especially with the cost of electric having gone up so dramatically in the last 5 years. And then the whole notion of getting the tonnage out of your cart away, your garbage, and finding somebody, several people, I bet you could even find guests that come to the restaurant that would be willing to leave a garbage can there, that you could put your scraps in, that
yes.
they'd even want to have for compost for their own resources,
for their own
garden. I mean, it wouldn't take much to coordinate that, and as I know that you've taught on 50mistakes.com, being more embedded in the community is always a great way of generating more revenue by having, that I'm in the community, I'm here to stay, investing in your community that way. And these are really small things that somebody can do that could really make a big difference on their bottom line.
Absolutely. So it's give and take. You're going to spend more, you're going to save more. But the idea, again, is you're in the community. You're in the community and show off what you're doing. Really, really show off what you're doing and let people be proud to know that they're coming in and they're helping with the environment, plus eating a good meal.
Excellent.
Well, great. Very good information today, Carl. Do we have anything else on the green front, or is that... I mean, we're going to talk a lot about the green front throughout the course of many episodes.
Yes, we are.
So there's going to be lots and lots more in our green section.
But if there are any,
Radio.
I'd just like to say though, if there are any restaurateurs listening, certainly go to 50mistakes.com and give Marcus a shout. He is available for consultation. And if you really want to begin this process or look at some other aspects of your restaurant to see how we can make a difference for you.
Absolutely. 50mistakes.com. It's my free cyber coaching website for restaurants, but really any business. Go check it out. 50mistakes.com. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining me, Carl.
I really appreciate it.